With week one kickoff just a few days away, it's time to predict some Arizona Cardinals player awards. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner _ follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen. Free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please go to the YouTube channel. Search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit the subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. Leave a review if you'd like. Wherever you leave reviews for podcasts, you know that I'm just happy that you're here every day. Thanks for making this so special for me. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals or watch, thank you. Maybe make tomorrow your second. Going into my 8th season as host of Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Been in sports radio since 2011. So it's been a long journey up until right now, where this may be the most exciting Arizona Cardinals season that I've been able to experience in my almost 14 years living in Arizona. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I stole this entire show from my buddy Tyler Rowland, Locked On NFL host, Locked On Titans host. I took every single award that he gave out because they were a little bit different than just MVP, Comeback Player of the Year, things like that. So I'm going to be ripping through MVP, Playmaker of the Year, Breakout Star, X Factor, and Biggest Disappointment. I'm going to give one player from offense, one player from defense. And the Biggest Disappointment segment, I almost didn't do a full segment because I don't want, forced negative vibes going into the season. But it has to be done. Tomorrow, I'm doing Crossover Thursday, week one crossover with Joe Marino of Locked On Bills. If you haven't listened to Locked On Cardinals before, every Thursday, I do a full crossover episode with the host of the team that the Cardinals are playing that week. So Joe Marino and I will be talking tomorrow to break down everything necessary to get you ready for Bills Cardinals. And then Friday, I'll give my full breakdown of the game. I don't think just repeating things over and over and over again for 3 days is beneficial, especially at the start of the season. Let's set some expectations. Let's give some award predictions away, and we'll jump into it right now with MVP. I'm going to remove Kyler Murray from this conversation because the quarterback needs to be the MVP if you want to win games. Okay, so we can have that conversation about Kyler Murray, not now. The MVP for me on offense is going to be James Conner. And it could be Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., somebody like that, Paris Johnson Jr. But this offense goes as James Conner goes. And Drew Petzing has set up that ecosystem to where James Conner is set up in a position to succeed. We saw his first 1,000-yard rushing season last year. While 1,000 yards seems cool for me, it's kind of an outdated number. What's 1,000 divided by 17? 60? That's averaging 60 yards a game. That's not elite. And the Cardinals don't need him to be elite. They don't need 1,500 rushing yards from James Conner. They need him to be the metronome for the offense that he's been since he's come here. And it's something that is so important going into the season, at least right away, until we see what Trey Benson is. We see how much they utilize Kyler Murray's legs and everything like that. I had Jason Moore from the Fantasy Footballers on last week, and he thinks that they're going to use Kyler Murray a lot in the run game. I would love to see that not happen out of necessity. You'd love to see James Conner thrive and Trey Benson thrive and whoever the third back's going to be on any given day, whether it be Amari DiMercato or Michael Carter. You want this running back room to thrive without Kyler Murray, and it starts with James Conner. And James Conner is going to be in the best position to succeed that he's been as an Arizona Cardinal because he has the backup cast, the backup dancers to be able to help him so he doesn't have to brunt the full weight of the rush attack. So coupled with Drew Petzing's run scheme, the ability for this offensive line to block so well for the run, like we saw last year, on top of having Trey Benson and the others to carry some of the weight, James Conner is in the best position to succeed that he's been as an Arizona Cardinal, and that's why he will win the MVP in 2024 on the offense. On the defensive side of the ball, this is going to go to Kyzir White. Kyzir White is quietly positioning himself for a year that is going to be necessary for the Arizona Cardinals defense to stay afloat. He was already named a captain after he only being here for 1 year, obviously played in Philly under Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rallis, who was his linebacker coach then. This dude knows this defense probably better than anybody, including Budda Baker. And he knows how to adjust when Nick Rallis and Jonathan Gannon go mad scientists with the personnel they put out there. So while quote-unquote off-ball linebackers aren't, well, that's not the quote-unquote. While off-ball linebackers aren't quote-unquote a premium position or aren't paid as such, the most premium of players necessary for the Cardinals' success on defense is Kyzir White. And I think that he's going to win MVP on defense. This is something that Budda Baker doesn't have to achieve for this defense to stay afloat. It'll be interesting to see, and I'll talk about Budda Baker later. It'll be interesting to see what Budda Baker can do when he doesn't have to do absolutely everything like he has the last couple seasons. Now, Playmaker of the Year. Let's jump back to the offense. For me, Playmaker of the Year is going to be Greg Dortch. And when you look at a guy like Greg Dortch, who has done everything he's been asked to do when given the opportunity to do it, Greg Dortch has been, like, when you say pound for pound, the best fighter in the world, like where the guy's small, but he has an excellent win-loss record. Greg Dortch is going to surprise some people in 2024 because he's finally going to be given the opportunity and expectation to produce from the slot. And he can play outside also. We've seen him all over the field. And you know that he and Kyler Murray have a great rapport and great understanding and trust between each other. So when Greg Dortch comes in wearing number 4, Rondale Moore's old number, and you see him produce at a level you hoped Rondale Moore would produce at, don't be surprised. He's going to be the 6th option on offense, 5th option. There's a lot of mouths to feed on offense. But I'll tell you what, another wide receiver I'm going to put as the biggest disappointment on offense, because Greg Dortch, in my humblest of opinions, will take the step forward that this team needs him to take in an effort to keep this offensive juggernaut continuing to be so throughout the season. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. Breakout Star. Is it a rookie? Is it a guy who's just getting a chance? Who's the biggest X factor? Especially on defense, you're going to want to listen to that. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, man. America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. If you haven't checked out Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you're missing out. This is a wild offer. Definitely should take advantage of it. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game, which is bonkers also. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com. Download America's #1 sportsbook. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked on Cardinals your first listen, wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. The new Locked on NFL is here. Locked on NFL is now 2 shows every day. First, the Madman Tyler Rowland kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso, and then stop by the barbershop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Add in the Locked on local experts, and you get unprecedented NFL insight, hot opinions, detailed breakdowns, all in 30 minutes. It's a new Locked on NFL, and it's twice a day. You can catch me every Monday morning with Tyler as we kick the week off, talking about all the games that happened over the weekend. Make the Madman Tyler Rowland and the Barber Tony Wiggins your second listen as the new Locked On NFL hosts on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. MVP, offense, James Conner. Defense, Kyzir White. Playmaker of the year, Greg Dortch on offense. And on defense, I'm going to give this to Jalen Thompson. Jalen Thompson has been a perfect mirror, a perfect counterpart to Budda Baker. Jalen Thompson is a bruiser. He's a good open field tackler. And when he's healthy, he's one of the more underrated strong safeties in the NFL. And when you have a guy like Adrian Taylor Demerson, who is going to back him up, on the depth chart, you're going to see imprints on Rabbit from Jalen Thompson and his ability to make plays. Playmaker of the year on defense, Jalen Thompson. Hopefully he'll become more of a household name than he is right now. Breakout star on offense for me. I'm going to do two. Okay, because the easy one's Marvin Harrison Jr. You expect that to happen. You expect him to have a massive, massive impact on this offense as a rookie. But for me, Trey McBride. Like Marvin Harrison Jr.'s breakout status, while it could be this year, and you could be like, oh, sweet mother, how is that a rookie? How has he never played more than a handful of NFL games? And look at what he's doing already. Very well, it could happen. But Trey McBride is poised to be a top 3 tight end, maybe ushering in the next group of tight ends, young guys, Sam Laporta, etc. But Trey McBride, this is his year for the breakout of all breakouts. We saw flashes last year. It was tough with Josh Dobbs, but better with Kyler Murray. But this is the time for Trey McBride to take what's his. And if you told me he ended up as tight end 1 at the end of the year, would you be shocked? I wouldn't. I would not. Now, on defense, this one I was going to give to BJ Ojulari, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the case in 2024. Breakout star on defense is going to be Garrett Williams. He's going to be playing in the nickel. Okay. He's solidified that spot pretty much right away. And you're looking at a guy who probably would have been a high second round or late first round pick if he didn't tear his knee up in college in Syracuse towards the middle/end-ish last year of his college career. The Cardinals grabbed him in the 3rd round, and this is a guy who can emerge as the anchor of the cornerback room. And we saw flashes last year. Okay, he didn't play a bunch. He started the season injured. But when he did play, one thing that I say on the show a lot, every day, you know this is, there weren't any, oh no, he's not ready moments. The game wasn't too fast for him. He jumped in. He was ready to rock. And while it's easier to do that when there's zero expectations for the defense at all, it was nice to see him come in and just play ball. So for the breakout star on defense, I think you're going to be giving it to Garrett Williams. Now, X factor on offense, this is Trey Benson. Okay. Trey Benson makes James Conner's MVP journey easier if he produces. And while that seems counterintuitive, like they're both eating at the apple and Trey Benson's eating at the apple, then James Conner doesn't get as much. It doesn't have to be that way. The X factor doesn't need to be the best player at the position. X factor is one that will teeter the offense one way or the other in a specific position group. And for Trey Benson, if the dude balls out like many people had him as a number 1 back off the board, that makes this rush attack, unstoppable is tough in the NFL. It makes it a potential top 5 running back room with the heir apparent to James Conner already found, which in turn would make James Conner's job a whole lot easier to continue to be the metronome for this offense, the equilibrium. So if Trey Benson can get you, doesn't have to be 600 yards rushing, having a breakout game here or there. And if James Conner were to miss time, he would just jump in and be that guy. This offense would be very, very tough to stop. Now, on the other side, if he struggles, maybe the schemes aren't there, maybe the game is a little bit too fast for him to begin with, things like that, You're going to have to rely on James Conner more. You may have to roll in Amari DeMarcado or Michael Carter. And then it's kind of an influx of where are the Cardinals going to trust those touches late in games if James Conner needs a break? Or are they just going to go right to the pass game? What are they going to do? And you see the vast differences. Trey Benson produces, he's a set and forget guy as an RB2, or he struggles, then they got to figure out who to trust besides James Conner. That's the epitome of an X factor. And then the X factor on defense, as I've stated, and I agree with myself. I do. I argue with myself on the show sometimes, but it's fun. So who cares? The cornerback room is going to be the one directly correlated to wins and losses more than any other position group. And while the pass rush is going to make that more difficult on them, the cornerback room is going to be the direct correlative between wins and losses, outside of any other position group. So for that reason, second round pick out of Rutgers, Max Melton, is going to be my defensive X factor. And the reason for that is, who Sean Murphy Bunting is. Okay, he's a B- corner, C+ corner. In this scheme, we'll see what he can do. Scheme has a lot to do with it. And Jonathan Gannon and Nick Roush know what the hell they're doing. They know which players will give them the best opportunity to succeed. And again, this defense doesn't need to be top 10. It needs to be top 20. So Max Melton, who the Cardinals traded back and drafted and watched Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Kamari Lassiter all get drafted before him. The best dog, Marvin Harrison Jr. can attest to that because they played against each other in the Big Ten. He's a ball hawk. He's a very, very tough player. And if he can emerge in his rookie season, this defense will look very different, especially if Garrett Williams emerges as that breakout star that I expect him to. If he doesn't, this cornerback room will look a lot like it did last year. Young talent, unproven. And, I'll give an honorable mention here to Starling Thomas as an X factor also. He got the starting nod on the first official depth chart. So we'll see if maybe he'll be a surprise. And then you can have him and Max Melton really kind of take the X factor role together from the cornerback room. Because listen, if there are any surprises in a positive way from the cornerback room, the future is a lot brighter for this defense than it is now. And I think that's pretty obvious to say. Now, biggest disappointments. One is going to be because he's outmatched, and the other is because we haven't seen it yet, and he's been in the league 4 seasons. Locked On Cardinals. Your team. Yours. Every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. This is going to be fun. A little nervous. Mostly excited. A lot of unknowns. And we've got to do this biggest disappointment segment. And this is going to be tough because I don't want this to be the case for either player. I mean, obviously you want everybody to succeed. This is something that makes my job easier when the Cardinals are good, more fun. So I don't have to be the bearer of bad news like I was for 3 entire seasons, pretty much 4, 5, something like that. I treat you like adults here. We talk about things rationally and we discuss things that are actually happening instead of sugarcoating something that isn't there. Biggest disappointment for me on the offensive side of the ball is going to be Michael Wilson. And it's not because, he can't stay healthy. No. Like, let's start with this. What would be a good season for Michael Wilson? Like, what's a ceiling for him? When you have James Conner, Trey Benson, Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., and it's like, it's like the NBA bringing in two guys to play the same position. It's like, it's not because of his talent level. It's because he's not Greg Dortch. Like, he's not going to play in the slot a lot. So he's going to be lining up with Marvin Harrison Jr., who's going to be better than him, Trey McBride, who's better than him, or they're going to be running the ball or using Kyler Murray's legs. Like, of all of the wide receivers, impact wide receivers, that could have a disappointing season, it's Michael Wilson. He has 700 yards receiving. While that sounds like a lot, that's less than 50 yards a game. So is he going to have a 1,000-yard season? Like, I see not more than yes. And it's not because of his talent level, because he's wowed in spots while healthy. He has. And you hope he succeeds, and you want him to stay healthy. And I think he will. Like, it takes some time to get used to the roughness of the NFL. But I think offensively, it's going to be him. That's going to be the biggest disappointment. And the best part is, it may not matter. They're not expecting him, for the sake of the offense, to have 1,300 or 1,400 receiving yards. And I also think this has more to do with Greg Dortch's emergence than Michael Wilson's production. This has more to do with Marvin Harrison Jr. than Michael Wilson's production. Now, if he has 700 or 800 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns, that's not a disappointment. But I think where the sky's the limit, it pretty much is for him. As a big outside wide receiver, he's great on the sidelines. He has acrobatic ability catching the ball. This, again, is not a testament to him directly. It's the situation he finds himself in with so many other options for pass catchers, and that it's going to be a run-first offense. Now, biggest disappointment, I don't think this is a surprise. He could surprise some people. He hasn't yet. It's Zaven Collins. He got the extension. Okay. Jonathan Gannon has said vehemently that he is comfortable with this linebacker group. He said, you guys may not be, but I am. Okay. If he becomes the breakout star, everything changes. Not only do the Cardinals have somebody off the edge or playing outside that they can trust, but they also got him for pennies on the dollar with that 2-year contract extension. I just don't see it because I haven't seen it yet. Going into his 4th season, I haven't seen it yet. And that's what scares me. Because now it's him and Dennis Gardeck on the outside. We've seen this story before. And while many aren't giving Monty Ossenfort a pass for pretty much neglecting the defense again outside of a couple moves and in the draft, this could be like, there's no hiding this anymore. And there wasn't last year, but it was misdirection. You're looking everywhere. Swordfish, great movie, by the way. Talks about misdirection a lot. I just misdirected my brain to not think for about 3 seconds there. It was, Kyler Murray's not playing. Oh, everybody's young. Oh, the offensive line isn't great, but it's getting better. Oh, man, they're running the ball really well. And you weren't talking about Zaven Collins and Dennis Gardeck because the team was supposed to be bad. Now there's no hiding it. When you're looking at it, it's a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. We're going to see that this year, one way or the other from Zaven Collins. And you hope that he flips. You hope the second year in this defense with an improved interior defensive line that he'll be able to pop a little bit. But I think the biggest disappointment is going to be Zaven Collins because people are yearning for something from him. And it may very well turn into the definition of insanity instead of flipping the script into a positive direction. Those are the awards. Man, Joe Marino, Locked on Bills, and I are doing crossover episode 1 tomorrow. I'll give my full breakdown, keys to victory, everything like that on Friday. We're getting closer, baby. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I will talk to you tomorrow with Joe Marino from Locked on Bills.